With the US bombing 3 nuclear sites in Iran, relations between the two countries have arguably reached one of the lowest points in modern times. Though there has been a ceasefire called, there's clearly bad blood between America and Iran. This bad blood isn't new between the two countries, but there was a time when America and Iran weren't in conflict. It was in August 1953 that the US helped overthrow a democracy-minded Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh. Operation Ajax, a joint CIA-British operation, orchestrated the overthrow of Mossadegh and ensured power to Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the last Shah of Iran. The Shah's ambitions for a nuclear-powered Iran gained support from the US and other Western allies. In 1957, both countries signed a nuclear agreement for the civilian use of nuclear power as part of then US President Dwight Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace program. Iran joined the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, in 1958. A decade later, in 1967, the US provided Iran with a nuclear reactor and uranium to fuel it. And then in 1970, Iran ratified the Treaty on Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, committing it to declare its nuclear material to the IAEA. Things soared, however, in 1979, when the revolutionary protests installed an anti-Western Islamist government. And so by 1984, America had designated Iran a state sponsor of terror. Now, in the early 2000s, there were revelations about undeclared nuclear sites which raised concerns. In 2002, 2 covert nuclear sites, Natanz and Arak, were exposed, revealing that Iran had hidden key facilities from inspectors. A decade of UN sanctions and talks followed. And after a decade of unsuccessful attempts to rein in Iran's nuclear ambitions, the Obama administration undertook a direct diplomatic approach. This was in 2013. 2 years of negotiations, initially bilaterally between America and Iran, and later with other nuclear powers, culminated in the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, often called the Iran Nuclear Deal. Iran signed the deal in 2015 with America, China, France, Germany, Russia, and the United Kingdom. While it severely limited Iran's capacity to enrich uranium, in return, Iran was granted relief from international sanctions. But this deal unraveled a few years ago in 2018, when President Donald Trump withdrew from that agreement, labeling it a terrible, one-sided deal that benefited Iran much more than it did the US.
The Iran deal was one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into. Frankly, that deal is an embarrassment to the United States, and I don't think you've heard the last of it.
So Iran also called off its commitments and began producing enriched uranium beyond the limits the deal had imposed. By 2023, it had reportedly reached close to weapons-grade levels of uranium enrichment, alarming watchdogs and reigniting fears of a regional crisis. Fast forward to 2025, to currently, in his second term, Trump shot off a letter to Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, proposing new negotiations on a nuclear deal with a deadline of 60 days. But Khamenei rejected this offer, saying the US is not seeking negotiations with Iran, but rather imposing demands on it. Days before the expected signing of the new deal, Israel went ahead and launched a series of preemptive airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. These attacks shattered US and Iran's diplomatic momentum. The rest, as they say, is history.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe. If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.